Hi everybody, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to Power of Knowing Forums. Join the C-Suite Talks, a LinkedIn live event, episode 198 today. We are discussing on the topic of art of listening, emotional intelligence and NLP in leadership today. To have this topic discussed, we have the honor of Gopinath, co-founder of Success Mind Mantra, NLP practitioner, emotional intelligence master coach, business coach, and a corporate leadership training trainer. So, without further ado, let's welcome our esteemed speaker to the podcast event. Hi, Gauri. Welcome to our podcast today.
Hello.
How are you, madam?
Thank you so much. Thank you for this invite. I am great. How are you?
Wonderful, man. I just wanted to have a small intro about yourself, your journey so far, and how this success mind mantra happened and stuff to the benefit of the audience. Over to you, Gauri.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I would say I take you from the beginning and then bring you up to how Success Mind Mantra happened. Is
Okay.
I as most of the Indian families or most of the Indian teenagers, we pick up our specializations without realizing our strengths. It's more of my father wants me to become this or my mother wants me to become that is how I did my btech it, I would say. Not a lot of my
Mm-hmm.
interest, but then yeah, one of the it was being given that yes, being a girl, it is one of the places where you should be going in engineering. So that is how I btech it happened. And then the curiosity in me started, I think, from the second or the third year, when I understood that talking to people is something which I love a lot. People skills are one of my strongest skills, and that is what pushed me to get my MBA, and I did it in hospitality and marketing. So that was one of the newest streams Anna University had come up with when my batch started, and with that is what I entered the corporate world and into one of the most difficult arenas, the marketing arena. And after a year or so in marketing, luckily I got an opportunity in L&D, and I switched. I kept my first footstep in L&D, completely unaware, completely unknown of this. Learned the job. That is how it started. That is how all of it started. And
Mm.
while I was doing all of it, I developed myself in L&D. One thing which was very is when I have to help people in their learning, it is very very important for me to understand in their mind. And to that curiosity pushed me to unmind a lot, and that is how I explored emotional intelligence. I got myself certified internationally, and level after level I became a master coach. And neuro linguistic programming was one of the talk of the town, I would say. It still is, but 7 years before it was even more,
Yeah.
I would say. So that is how I started exploring. I associated with the NLP Academy, joined it
Mm.
as a learner. But then, when your value systems match so well, is when you want to go with that organization for a long time. I hope all the leaders who are watching this would agree with that. That it is the most difficult thing is to find a team which is of the same value system, and that is how I got associated with Karthik, the founder of NLP Academy and my co-founder in Success Find Mantra today. So then I partnered with him. NLP Academy is what grew for next 4 5 years. We did crazy NLP programs all over India, yeah, and couple of online batches, all thanks to COVID. I always take the positivity from everywhere. So I also thank COVID for giving us this opportunity of online, or rather I would say, for giving us the opportunity to explore the online platform and utilize it. So with NLP Academy, with my corporate trainings happening, actually, I would say we have this today's session also where we would be discussing a lot. I would be talking a lot about actively listening, and that active listening is the one which made me take this first step to start Success Mind Mantra, because Every place where I go for training, there was a cry from the learning and development department telling people don't understand what we want. They only deliver what they have, and somehow there's this gap between what we want and what they have and what is delivered. So I became, success mind mantra became that place where you can tell us what you want, and we will curate something from the scratch for you guys. That is how the first step towards a success mind mantra game started. It's a very young baby, I would say. It's just a 1 year old infant toddler which has started walking and running around. So we do programs everywhere all over India, and that is why corporates come to us, because we listen to what they want before we tell them what we have.
Okay. So, a small, not a small journey to start with, from engineering technical to L&D, then to practicing about NLP. It's not a small journey. I think it's a different kind of a journey, which I think many people would like to have, but not try to do that, right? So, very, very different way of looking yourself as a career and a journey towards this structure of NLP. Great to have that, Gauri. Let's dive into our topic on the art of listening, the emotional intelligence, and NLP in leadership. What roles does active listening play in transforming leadership styles today in the fast paced world? So, what is your take on it?
Okay, see, I always look at leadership as a very dynamic role, and with
Hmm.
the agile working environment, which has become the prevalent working environment today, not just in IT but everywhere actually. Why do I say agile everywhere? Is because everything is changing. Whether it's an automobile organization, whether it's an IT organization, you've got to run with the pace in which the market is running. And when you got to run, you got to have strong leaders. And
Hmm.
if the
Hmm.
leader somewhere becomes a little weak, unfortunately, the company doesn't cannot actually proactively run. So the leader becomes a
Hmm.
very very important cornerstone of any organization's success. Now when we talk about active listening, actually that plays one of the biggest roles, because the leader's role is to be the connector between the management and the people. And if you
Hmm.
are unable to listen, and when I say listen, it is not just listening to what people are saying, but listening to what people are not saying. you know
Yes.
Reading between the lines, I say, that is very very important. It is not just the words which are coming out, but it is also a collaboration of everything around. The way the person is behaving, the way his or her body language is. I feel active listening has only a part of listening to the words which are coming out of someone's mouth, but more of what is coming out of the environment or as such.
Okay. So, you mean to say is that there is very strong play on active listening, right? Can you share a moment where
Oh,
yeah, saying something, Gauri?
no, 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 yeah, continue.
Yeah. Can you share a moment when listening deeply changed the trajectory of a business decision? Because most of the time we don't see leaders listening to most of the pointers, right? So, how do you look at that aspect
Hmm.
while we look at listening as a concept here?
Yeah. Okay. So actually, I do a lot of business coaching also, because yeah, that is one part in my intro I missed, because I'm associated with EDI Tamil Nadu,
Uh-huh.
one of the entrepreneurial body of Tamil Nadu, government entrepreneurial body of Tamil Nadu. So I have a lot of startups working with me. Sometimes I have individuals who are solopreneurs who are working with me, and I do a lot of business coaching when there is a business re-engineering required in a mid-level organization also. And in all these three phases, whether you are a solopreneur, whether you are a startup person, or whether you're as a mid-level um, organization and you need some changes to happen, one common thing which I've always noticed is somehow when we climb up the ladder, we miss, or I would say we lose the skill of active listening, because we think we know it all at times, you know.
Yeah.
And it actually happens when you're talking in a meeting, or when you're talking to someone, you're talking about your product, a product which you have been having for years, and this other person is not that knowledgeable.
Mm.
And when that other person is trying to give his or her POV, we are eagerly waiting to answer or correct things which he or she has told, you know. That eagerness of giving back an answer actually makes us not actively listen, because you should listen to understand, not listen to answer back. But unfortunately, we always listen to answer back. So there was one such business, I'll give you an example here. It was sinking, and the founders were actually not able to understand that what is going wrong. Okay.
Mm.
And when I sat with them, and when we had this discussion, we had like multiple discussions. I think by the third or the fourth discussion, I asked them, have you looked at the feedback of what the people have been telling using our product? And they told, yeah, we have like 4+ star out of 5 stars, so you know the feedback is good. I told I would like to go back and look into the feedback.
Yeah.
Now, that's what I say. Active listening is not always listen to the words which is coming out of the mouth. When it is a written feedback, your active listening is actually trying to understand the pain of the person when the person has written this feedback. You know, you have to listen to that. And when we were looking at the feedback, when we tried to work around it, we realized that every customer who has brought our product, or hasn't brought our product, or has bought it but has given a 1 star rating or a 2 star rating, the pain point there is they don't get service if the product is not working after a couple of months.
Okay.
Now here, this whole team of CXOs is sitting here and telling that we need to change the product, but unfortunately, it's not the product which has to be changed. It is the service which needs to be brought. So one mistake of not being all ears was actually taking them into another direction, which was not required. Then we had to rework, and we made our services really well. We worked on that for like I think 6 to 8 months, and the sales went high because the product was a marvelous product. You know, so you need to listen to the pain points of the um, people around. You know, you have to have all ears with your customers, with your employees, everyone.
I think that's a very valid point when it comes to after sales support. I was going through somewhere, Gauri, is that most of the time why customers fail to come back and give you business is uh, the post sale support, right? That's what you are trying to emphasize here, saying that post sale support, if there is a promise given for a certain pointer and we keep that pointer, the customer comes up and gives you repeated business, right? So that's one way to look at is what I understood. How does emotional intelligence amplify the impact of NLP techniques in leadership?
So this I would answer this question in two parts. NLP
Hmm.
techniques in leadership.
Gauri, there's a lot of disturbance in the mic that we cannot hear you.
Am I audible now?
No, there's a lot of mic noise.
There's a lot of mic noise. Give me 1 minute.
Yeah, now it's gone. Yeah, now it's clear.
Okay, give me 1 minute.
Yeah,
Yeah, is it okay now?
yeah, it is fine now. Yeah, it's clear now. Yeah,
Is it okay? Yeah,
Yes, yes,
cool.
yeah,
Okay. So, yeah, as I was mentioning, I would answer this in two sections. One regarding NLP. This has become one of the very important tools to render the most out of human, and in leadership, you already have the hard skills with you. I always divide skills a person has in soft skills and hard skills. Now you already have the hard skills because you have learned it well to come to the position of leadership. Now what is required is soft skills, and sometimes when you are taking different positions, use soft skills accordingly. you know uh, as as a team to have team coordination, and collaboration and all of that. But when you become the leader, now it is more of decision making, it is more of problem solving, because your team comes to you for these kind of things. They are not coming to you for day to day operations because they are well versed in that. So NLP has a lot of
yeah.
beautiful tools to work around that. And I say, um, I would say something which works in collaboration, or normally when you look at NLP, it is such a wide spectrum that emotional intelligence is one smaller spectrum in that. That is how I look at it. And it is a more detailed spectrum. Now, EI is very, very important because we have all noticed that you can have beautiful IQ, but if you miss on EI, unfortunately, you cannot be a people's person. And if you are a leader, you got to be a people's person. You need to understand if a team member is stressed, why is he stressed? You need to understand, is it that he doesn't know how to do it, or is it that there is something in the background which is, not working well for him? And is it his personal issue or a professional issue? So, reading between his actions is very important, and emotional intelligence helps you become aware of that and understand that, so that you can work more as a more fluid team than something which is broken into a lot of silos.
Hmm. Okay, good pointers there. What is the common misconception that leaders have about listening in at a high stressed scenarios, right? So when there is an escalation or the numbers are not met and stuff like that, those are pretty much high stressed scenarios. So what would be your pointer when you say common misconceptions about leaders by listening at high stress scenarios?
Okay, when there is a high stress scenario, unfortunately, we activate our emotional side a lot. Keeping
Mhm.
in control that emotionals is memotically at that time. You need to have a control like a sadhu to be calm in the situation where which is actually which is and the heat, you can feel the heat. Now, when there is a what happens is you get into a survival mode, and the moment you get into a survival mode, your brain stops is more into I'll add what stress. I will actually tell you what stress does, and then you'll understand when I'm survival mode. Because the moment stress comes, if you go back to the Stone Age times, had is the lion in front will eat me, or I will get a meal for myself today. That was the stress we had. So the moment stress comes, the brain activates all your energy to go to your limbs. You know, you run for your life, and you save yourself. Mm, Exactly, even today, the lion is there, but it is not there to eat you. That heat, and the lion can be, as you told, numbers which we will not be able to deliver, and different things like that. So at that the energy is sent to your limbs, and when the energy is sent to your limbs, your brain is not processing. So the first thing what happens is, when your brain is not processing, there are people around you who are giving you solutions. There are people around you who are telling you how can we chunks and resolve it. But right now, because you're stressed, you yourself and you are just planning ways at this high stress in moments. I always tell people to take a break, be a little mindful, do a present moment exercise. There's a very small exercise which I do. I'll let you know that also by the end of the session. And then listen to people. As a leader, you should be the last one to talk, because normally what happens, the leader is the first one to talk, and once he has spoken, everyone will sing the same song. So it should actually be, you should be the last one to talk. You should say, yes, the forum is open, please let me know what is your POV. And at that time, bite your tongue in between your teeth and do not talk. So, in a high stressed situation, what normally happens is you tend to talk. And the more you talk, the more you are shutting everyone else's idea. You never know. I mean, there was one such event which I had read somewhere. Such the master blaster, or you have the god of cricket. Now he was in in a restaurant when there was this waiter who had come and suggested him that the elbow guard which he has, how should he keep the elbow guard, so that he can bat well and it doesn't disturb him. Now he was surprised because other than him, no one knew that he had an issue with his elbow guard. Now,
Mhm.
such a great person like Sachin, who is the god of cricket, gave that open window to that other person that, yes, tell me what is your point of view. And that guy is just a waiter, you know.
Hmm.
If that moment Sachin would have opened and told, hey, dude, I know what it is, I know what the pitch is, I know what the bowler is, the waiter would have not opened his mouth. So, as a leader, it becomes very important for individuals to pause, be in the present moment, do not get stressed, do let your mind process it, and let the other people talk, grasp everything what they are telling,
Hmm.
consolidate in the end, and then give your point of view.
Okay.
So that is my take in a high stressed environment.
Now, with that, what happens is also is we try to fix things very quickly when in a high pressure environment, right? So where we see we want to have this issue resolved and move on quickly. That's where the whole balance goes off. And what is your advice for leaders struggling to balance the empathy and with the decisiveness?
Okay. Decisiveness.
Yeah.
See, this is a very beautiful thing, and there was very recently when I was discussing this with one of the psychologists here in Indore, when we had this opportunity, that empathy comes in levels. We need to understand what level of empathy which we need to apply.
Hmm.
Now, the first very level of empathy, which the three levels would be, the first one is cognitive, the second one is experiential, and the third one is consciousness, okay, or compassionate. Consciousness or compassionate, you call either of them. Now, what happens in the first one? The first empathy is when you understand the other person's point of view, understand the other person's pain, you know the kind of situation that individual is in. Cognitive empathy, you are able to you know have a cognition about other person's pain. Okay. The second, which is the emotional empathy, is when you not just understand, but you start feeling the pain. Okay. So imagine there is a person who has had an accident and who broke his ankle. Now
Hmm.
I understand the kind of issues he will have. He will have an issue in climbing up the stairs. He will not be able to walk from one table to another. Yeah, he will have issues in the morning to get dressed and leave for work. Okay. He will not be able to stand for long hours in presentations. Okay. So these are the things which I understand. Cognition. When I start feeling his pain, oh my god, he will be in so much pain. Oh my god, he will his ankle would be swollen, and his pain would be dire. He would not be able to sleep at night. I am feeling the pain is the second level of empathy, emotional empathy. Okay. The third level is I want to solve his pain, the compassionate empathy, or the conscious empathy. How can I get this sorted? I can take him to this doctor. I can give him a pillow under, or I can resolve his issue. I can become his leg. I'm trying to resolve his issue. Now, the problem with leaders is a lot of time managers go to this level of empathy, the compassionate empathy. If you go to that level, you will not be able to decide the right way. It would sound brutal at times when I say, but then as a manager, you need to be in the level of cognitive empathy. I need to understand what this person can do and what this person cannot do. If I am only at that level, is when I will not be emotionally challenged to take the right decision.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of times, see, I have a team of 7 people. They will have their 7 pain points. If I start connecting with everyone emotionally, I will be in complete negative emotion most of the times. Now, in this negative emotion, if I'm taking any of the decisions, it is not going to be
Yeah.
productive. So let us not get emotionally associated, but we need to understand, we need to cognate on what are the pain points of a person because of particular scenario which they are in. So that cognitive empathy is required. So if we understand that, and the moment I see that I'm getting emotionally associated, I should disassociate. I should walk out. I should take a tea break, go look into something else, and then come back with a perspective of understanding and working rather than, getting emotional, because this is not a daily soap drama and you don't have to get emotional.
You're,
Yeah. That is my take on,
yeah,
yeah.
you're right in saying that. One example that I would like to bring is we had a high pressure situation in one of our banking projects that we did, right? And it so happened that the system was down, and we were with the customer in a meeting at that time, and we got to know that the system is down. We had a data center about 4 kilometers away from that space. So we were sitting and trying to understand. We went into a situation what you said, right? So everybody is talking, it is down, everybody is talking about what to do and stuff like that. We did not know at a stage whether we should be part of that cribbing thing or run to the data center and see what is the issue that is happening. So we were standing for some time, and then my boss suddenly said, what are you doing? हम क्या कर रहे हैं इनके साथ बैठ के? यहाँ तो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं होगा. You have to go to the data center. Let's go to the data center. Why are you standing here? So we rushed to the data center, and we found that the server was down because of the patch the customer had applied, and it was applied during business hours, which we had clearly told not to be done. Now, if we had gone there and we sat with the customer,
Hmm.
customer would have blamed what management you are doing. You don't know to manage our infrastructure. This would be a negative discussion that would have happened there, and we could have not resolved the issue, and the issue would have still been open. So we took a different approach. We ran to the data center. We found that this is the issue, and we restarted the server, canceling the update that customer had put, and we brought the system up in another 10 minutes up. Otherwise, we would have spent an hour understanding what went wrong, why it went wrong, and that negative thought, what you said, right, would have been there in our mind, not looking at possible solutions. What do you think about this pointer, Gauri?
Very true. I mean, very beautiful that when we are into a high pressure situation, when we are into a high stress situation, we should, there are two types of mindsets which we talk about in NLP. One is called the blame frame, another one is called the outcome frame. Yeah. So
Hmm.
instead of we searching whom to blame, what to blame, how to blame, which we normally do, there's a very simple thing. When I take my trainings, I share this small story or anecdote with everyone's life, that as a child, whenever you fall, the first thing your grandmother or grandfather picks you up and says, "Acha cho, kisne mara? Zameen, दीवार ने मारा मारे." You know. did the wall hit you? Let us hit the wall. And we both, as a child and as a grandparent, we both hit the wall. We both become happy.
Yeah.
But in that one scenario, actually, we have taught people to blame. That whatever happens, start searching for someone to blame. So
Mm.
from that, we have to actually take a step back and go, take a way around and find out what can I do to make this scenario better. What is the solution in mind? And beautifully, that's exactly what your manager did. Is like, what are we doing here, sitting and being part of cribbing game, blaming game? Let us go and see what is to be done.
Right.
As a leader, that should be the perspective when everyone is trying to search. Because if things go wrong, if customers demands are not met, customer is all pissed, there is a bug in your software or whatever it is, the team members will start thinking of whom should I pick up and blame. At
Mhm.
that time, if you ask who did it, you are unleashing the blaming monsters. Rather, you should sit and say, happened. Now tell me, what are we supposed to do to correct it? Now everyone is startled. Arey yaar, I had prepared that I will blame Sham.
Mm.
I had prepared that I'll blame Ram. And this guy is not even asking who did it.
So I,
He or she is asking how do you go about it.
yeah, there was another
You
scenario
know?
that you brought in when you told this Ram Sham stuff, right? So there was one issue
Yeah.
that we had with a customer, and uh, I've spoken about this in earlier discussions also, right? What happened is there was
Mm-hmm.
one team member of mine who had joined the OEM,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we used to use their
Mm-hmm.
products. The same, I had another team
Mm-hmm.
member working on the project. Now I have both team members supporting the customer, one from the OEM side, one from the services side. Now the system went down, and we had to say this is how it is. The guy from the OEM started saying that
Mm-hmm.
you people don't know to manage, you don't know how to do, and all these things. And he started saying that he was not even
Mm-hmm.
part of the system earlier and he does not know how we operate. So it went into a stage where I had to literally say is, was okay, there is a problem that it is happening. Let's do postmortem afterwards. Let's look at the problem at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at now. If you start keeping blaming, you're not addressing the problem. You're just creeping things on the blame game part, and we are not addressing the customer pain point, right? So let's do the postmortem after
True.
you address the problem. So can we get in as a team what you used to be when you are part of this organization rather than being an OEM at the moment? And let's talk about it. So that guy was baffled for some time and he said, okay, sir, we'll look at it and we'll come back. So I think,
As a leader, that's our job.
yeah. So what we did is it was midnight around 1 o'clock when this situation happened. By another one and a half an hour, they solved the issue and they came out saying that both had their own challenges. One was a bug from the OEM where they had to update a patch. The other was a patch which these people applied triggered that bug to stop the system working. So there was a
Hmm.
discussion that had to happen. When you apply this bug, this is what will happen, or this patch, this is the bug which will trigger, and this is where we had to give a solution. So in 1 hour, we are able to solve the problem and bring the customer live. So looking at that point, we clearly said, let's do postmortem later, right?
And that is how it should be. You should not be all ears to people telling, it's the first question, who did it?
Hmm.
You ask your child, why did you do it, or who did it? If you have two kids and a cup is broken and it's on the floor, you cannot come and ask who did it,
Hmm.
because they will happily find out who did it. Other than, they can even say there was a ghost in the room who did it, none of us did.
Yes.
But is that going to make the scenario better? No.
Okay.
It should be, how do we come out of it?
True.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank. How does leadership ability to listen affect the organization culture? See, we've been talking about culture of the organization for a very long time, and how does this happen? And what would be the ability of the leaders to listen effective for an effective organization culture?
See, I always believe the organization's culture is because of their leader.
Mm.
Whatever the organization can sing a song telling we are open cultured, we are assertive, and we are we are people first and all of that. If my leader is not doing either of it, the organization culture is just names or words kept somewhere. So I feel that for this to happen, our leaders should be in line with the organization's culture. And now, what does active listening play a part? If I am saying that we are people's organization, we keep our employees before our processes, or any of this, everything is circles back to one thing: whether the leader listens when I am trying to say, you know so a leader's initiative that, okay, you say, I'll listen, and I'll not listen to answer, but I'll listen to understand. This one effort which the leader puts in anything can actually bring out the most positive culture. When I know that I can be vulnerable and tell something in a forum, and my leader would not take it negatively, rather would work on it if it is a positive thing, or support me if I am asking for a support. If I am allowed to be vulnerable, I will be one of the most vulnerable people, at the same time one of the most trusted person also. And this can only happen if the leader is giving the window for the person to tell, and not judge him or her when he's listening to the person. So I always say that active listening is very important, and when you are listening, should have your judgmental attitude put on your driver's sheet. Should
Mm.
only be that effort that I am listening to understand. Whatever is your perspective, whether it is in line with my thought process or not, that's okay. Whether it is in line with my organization's thought process or not, that's okay. But first tell, and then we will talk
Mm.
about what it is. you know so any organization's culture can only be seen from the leaders. Leaders are the front face of organization's culture, and an open place to listen actually gives the individuals one thing: that I can be vulnerable, I can tell you, and I will not be judged. Second, any stupid question, I can put it on the table, people will not laugh, rather people will try to look into that. This helps any organization become the most creative. you know I always say the only idea which is a stupid idea is the one which is not brought to the table. When I am brainstorming, and we are listening to different people for different perspectives, never shun the person in between when they are talking. Let them talk. Whether it is a good idea or bad idea, that will be decided later. So you make them vulnerable, and the trust increases, creativity increases, assertiveness increases, I would say. They are able to say no when they have to say no. They are able to say what is required. Problem solving becomes way more easier. So you see, all the positive organizational culture can come because of one small thing: if a leader is ready to listen, and listen to understand, not to answer back.
No, I completely take that. When we have been talking to our teams, I've been part of a large organization for 13, 14 years, right? And
Mhm.
what I've been telling people, I handle large teams, about 400 people
Mhm.
across the globe. So one thing that I always tell people is you have to take risk. One is that you'll have to take a risk to understand, learn. That is the first step. But to take a risk, you should know what to ask, the right questions. Maybe the other person listening to you may think that is a silly question. He does not know this also. That is still fine. But ensure that you clear your doubts out and keep it clear. People may laugh at your doubt, but that is okay. But you are clearing your doubts. So that is what we've been emphasizing very from a very long time. I've been here in the industry for the last 27 years. And in this 27 years, I've been a leader for at least 24 years, right? So the starting 3, 4 years was not that I did not manage a team. After that, I've been managing teams on regular basis. So everywhere or every organization that I've gone is what we told is ask the question. Don't think people are laughing. That is not your problem. You'll see their teeth, not more than that. So
True.
that is how I've been telling my team to ask questions. Now, with that, what trends are you seeing in leadership today regarding NLP and emotional intelligence?
Okay. As I was telling in the beginning, this is one thing which I always ponder upon, that leadership has changed dynamically in the past one and a half decades, I would say. The authoritarian kind of leadership is now no more there. And it is going to become
Hmm.
even an obsolete thing in the near future, when the Gen Z is becoming the part of the working crowd. I have started facing the heat now itself, because I work a lot with young talents and Gen Zs. The way they are, you cannot direct them to do something.
Hmm.
You can only suggest them to do something. So that is a trend which has come very strong in all the organizations, and that has changed the perspective of the leader. Now you are not there to show them directions and think that I am a know-it-all person, and he or she is going to follow. The army kind of a process can only work in armies now. Okay. Or on a very lower level, where you have laborers. But if they are not laborers and they are employees, there is a change of attitude which you need. And at that time, it becomes very important for you to have a very fluid way of leadership. You have to change it, every time. We call it situational leadership. I always say it's a situational leadership that you have to take in. You have to understand what is the situation asking, and you have to change accordingly. You have to keep adapting. And for doing this, you have to have a very strong emotional stability, because currently there are a lot of people who are in stress. Change has become something which is normal. Yeah.
Yes.
And when you are changing things, people are getting stressed more and more. And in this kind of a scenario, if you are not stable, if your emotions are not stable, unfortunately you will not be able to give them the right platform, or you will not be able to take the right decision. You have to be self aware that this particular thing is triggering, and I am getting emotional. And now that I'm emotional, I should not take decisions, because tomorrow this emotionally taken decision is going to harm the organization more than do something good. This awareness is very much required, and this is only halfway through. Once I get aware, the next step is, how do I manage it? If I am into a negative emotion at this particular time, how do I manage it, and how do I work around it to move that energy which I have created, even if it is negative? How do I change it into a positive energy? How do I use it for something beneficial? And the beauty of NLP is that once you're aware with the emotion, NLP gives you different tools and techniques which can help you to make that negative energy positive. Even, convert your team's negative energy into a positive energy. Ask the right kind of questions, boggle their mind in the right way. If the team is extremely unhappy, if the team's morale is down, if they are emotionally unstable, what are those few tools which you can use, which can help them become a little more better, which can help them come into a positive notion and take them forward? Yeah. So a blend of EI and NLP. Actually, I always say leaders ought to have an understanding of what these two things are, because it is all a mind game today.
Hmm.
Tools, techniques, they can learn even from YouTube.
Yeah, right. No,
You
I
don't
think
have to
that
be
is
there.
where we also are looking at, right. So tools and skills can be taught, right. How do you ask the right question? Building that character that is required to have that kind of a thing is what we are looking at. What is one practical tip that you're using in NLP to resolve work conflict?
Oh, there are two things I would to tell you here, which I have been actively using. I have made my team use it. One, we call it in NLP, we call it a three-chair technique or a perceptual positioning. There's
Mm.
a very beautiful thing. If there is any difference of opinion, conflict, or something which has come, there is this three-chair technique where you have one chair on which you are sitting and two empty chairs which you have in front of you. Okay, so the chair opposite to your chair is the other person's chair.
Mm.
So when you are switching your seat from here to there, you are going into their perspective of thought process. Like, so let me take an example of Sham. So if me and Sham are having an argument or a discussion or difference of opinion, I have a chair in front of me and I think it's Sham's chair. When I go get up and go sit in that chair, now I become Sham. I start thinking from Sham's perspective. Then
Mm.
I again come back on my chair. I think from Gauri's perspective. So when I do this perceptual switching, I'm able to understand both persons' point of view, and I'm able to pick up whatever is good. And then there is a third chair. That is a very important chair because that is a chair of a third person who is seeing Gauri and Sham doing this argument. So at times I always tell my team, I'm like, sit on the third person's chair and see how stupid this looks. At times, when they are quarreling on something or discussing on something which is not even productive. From the third person, it is very important that you sit on the third person's perspective and see that if someone from outside sees it, what are they going to think about it? Okay, or a third person who hears to both of you, what is his point? Now this third person is very important because one, it will show you whether it is important to have this discussion or not, and two, it will also help you take the positives from person A and person B and accumulate it and say that, hey, listen, neither A's path is okay, neither B path is okay, but now listening to both of you, I have picked up path C, which is a accumulation of both you and you, and this is the best thing. So I normally have, a lot of times you'll see my team putting three chairs, and when they have put three chairs, I understand, oh, okay, there is something which is a conflict of interest here, and now he or she is trying to do it. So as our team, we are very clear that if someone has put three chairs, leave that person for 10-15 minutes.
Okay.
He'll come back with a solution which will be much better. So that is something which we have practically started doing. And there is another thing which I use, which is mostly an adaptation on an emotional intelligence concept called present moment awareness. Um, so that is a very beautiful technique. There's a longer technique. I'll give you a shorter version of it. Is whenever I am stressed or whenever I'm anxious, I would say not even stressed, anxious, because anxiety is nothing but a fear of the unaware.
Mm.
I'm not aware about something, and that's why I get scared. And when you get anxious, the first thing what happens is, if you are scared of something, if you're scared of a ride, what happens? The first thing is your breath becomes shorter.
Yeah.
You have inconvenience in breathing, and the moment the ride is over, you get down of the ride, and the first thing you do is you blow out a very big breath out. You would have noticed in any crucial task, if you're doing, the moment the task is over, the first thing we do is a
Yeah.
very big breath out. And that is how you can fool your mind, by breathing out longer and breathing in shorter.
Mm.
When you are breathing in, like, you breathe in for 7 counts and you breathe out for 10 counts, and when you do that for 10 times in a cycle, you are giving your brain the message that the issue is resolved because my breathing out is bigger and my breathing in is smaller. Now brain is a very intelligent but at the same time very foolish.
Mm.
So you can fool your mind easily. Sorry, not brain, mind. You can fool your mind very easily
Mm.
by giving them that external direction. There's something called an NLP pie which is used here,
Mm.
but that will take a very long time. So this small exercise which anyone can do when they are anxious or when they have any negative emotion, a positive output will make you breathe out longer. So when you start breathing out longer and breathing in shorter, your mind is now confused. Okay, there's something positive which has happened. That is why this person is breathing out longer. So now that something positive has happened, let me give him the right kind of hormones and let me make him think in the right direction. So these are the two practices which I always give anyone, and I myself also do. If I'm anxious, if I'm angry, I start doing it, and then I get into the scenario so that I'm there in the scenario and not in the past or not in the future.
Okay. Important.
So that are my two tools, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. Great insights there. Now, I have two questions before we conclude. We are running top of the hour now. So I have two questions that I want to ask. What is the biggest listening
Uh-huh.
mistake leaders make during team meetings? That's the first question.
One of the biggest listening mistakes which the leaders make is they think they are listening uh, because they know the tool or they know the discussion so well. They start doing multitasking.
Mm,
Okay, so they think they are listening, but unfortunately they miss a lot of details when they are multitasking, and that I have seen a lot of leaders do that. If someone is talking for more than 2 minutes, they start fiddling with their mobile, they pick up something, they are looking into something, they are thinking about something else, thinking that, oh, I'm still listening. So there is a very basic ground rule which I have with my team is, if you enter a discussion, the mobile is not kept on the table. The mobile is kept on a table which is far away and it is on silent, because even if it is on the table, that is a distraction.
yeah.
So if you, at whatever level you are, if you're multitasking, you're not listening. You think you are not. So that is one mistake. As leaders, we do it and we have the power to do it. No one will ask you, hey, why are you taking out the mobile? We have the liberty, we have the power. So when you are listening, please listen to the person whoever is talking.
Mm,
Do not multitask.
okay. Now, the last question for the session that I would like to is, what is the go-to technique to ensure remain present while you are listening, and how do you inspire team to adopt better listening habits for themselves?
Okay, so one of the things which I already told, I think I have answered the first half of your question. One of the ways in which you can work or be present while you are listening is to remove the diversions or deviations when you are communicating with a person. One of the biggest deviations in our life we have currently is our handheld devices. So I suggest everyone to put their handheld devices separately when you are entering a discussion. Any deviation should be minimized, or any noise in a conversation should be cut so that you can listen properly. The second thing, there are a lot of ways in which you can exhibit that I'm listening, because the other person should know that I'm listening for them to open up and give you more details. So the few things which you can do is have if you're listening, you're listening to understand something. So have a list of things which you want to understand from the person. Like if like right now we are in a discussion and you are listening to me, you have which you need to get addressed by the end of this hour, and you have it in you with you. Everyone should have that list of things which has been addressed. That will help you listen and be more curious. Look into the person's eyes, have a positive body language. Leaning forward is a very great thing. Now, what has happened online is a boon and a bane. When you are online, you are off camera a lot of times. Most of the IT meetings happen where you see only names. You are
Mm,
multitasking. The moment you multitask, you are reducing your power of listening by 50%. And if you're multitasking with three tasks, it has become 33%. And four tasks, you don't even have to ask, it's less than 20-25%. So do not multitask. Okay. uh,
okay.
be aware of where you are. Try, and that is one reason why I always switch on my video, because that will push me to be aware on the screen. Uh, so
Yeah.
even if it is not required, switching on the video help remove diversions. Do not multitask. Listen to the person. Look into their eyes if possible, if you are physically there. If you are virtually there, unfortunately that doesn't work very a lot of times. Then, last but not the least, have the list of things which you want to address by this conversation. that will help you be on point, that will help you ask the right kind of questions, so that you can get all the information what you want, and you can actively listen. Yeah, and
Yeah.
one of the beautiful tools to make sure you're actively listening is always paraphrase what the person.
Okay. Wonderful. So with this, we come to the final stage of the question and or the pointers that we wanted to discuss. I would like to summarize what we have spoken at Gauri today. What we did was, how do we looked at what is the active listening part that transformed leadership styles is what we spoke about with the start, and we went in deeply on changing the trajectory of a business with listening being an important point. How do we amplify and impact the NLP techniques in leadership is what we said. We spoke about misconceptions. We spoke about empathetic leadership and ability to affect the organization with culture. We have spoken about challenges in practicing listening, and also we have spoken how we can lead or enhance or resolve a conflict using NLP, and what are the mistakes leaders do in listening in team meetings. Next is what we spoke about is how to go have a technique which says, which Gauri very well said, is keep your mobiles aside when you are in a meeting. That makes half or more than it's more a distraction rather than a tool that you need when you are in a meeting. And the last pointer that we have spoken is inspiring team for better listening is habits of rephrasing and summarizing, like what we are doing on this pointer at the moment, where we are summarizing most of the points what we are discussing, and we are listing out what we are having at the moment. Gauri, it's been great having you at a very short notice, because Darshini was not able to make it today because of you filled in the slot, you took the title, you spoke about the important points. I would like to say that Darshini Shivkumar was to have this session, and Gauri is her mentor, is what I understand. And Gauri stepped in and said, I'll take up when Darshini is not available for the session today. And that's how we had a pleasure having Gauri today on the session. Thank you for that, Gauri. With this, I would like to,
Thank you so much.
I would,
Pleasure is all mine. Thank
yeah, welcome, Gauri. With this, we would like to tell you that we've streamed this podcast across LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. We hope found this discussion valuable. Thanks for joining us. Our next episode is scheduled as on OT's cybersecurity strategies to protect critical infrastructure in 2025 on the 21st of Jan at 6:30 p.m. IST. Looking forward to see you. That would be our 199th episode, and next week we will be touching 200 episodes on the podcasting non-stop so far, and that's one milestone that we are touching next week. We would like to have people join us and encourage us doing more on this topic. Any last words that you would want to say, Gauri, before we conclude and leave the audience?
Nothing much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Prem, for this opportunity. And we spoke about three very big topics today: EI, NLP, and active listening.
Mm,
Yes, 1 hour would not do justice for this, but then I hope everyone would have got few practical things which they can do with their teams. Leaders would have understood the requirement or the need of being emotionally resilient, emotionally intelligent, at the same time being aware of what the mind can do. So I always suggest leaders to work more on their soft skills like this, that helps them become a much better leader, because we all know you have the hard skills. So listen to understand, don't listen to answer back. That actually reduces your listening skills. So listen to understand people's perspective. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope everyone would have got something to take back today. from today's discussion.
Thank you for that, Gauri. I am dropping the link. I've scroll. The scroll is running with Gauri's link on her LinkedIn profile. You can connect to Gauri and have a deeper discussion. If you have any questions, you can drop them on our comment section. Also, we'll look at having those answered from Gauri going forward. And thank you for that, Gauri. Good day and bye for now. Bye for the audience as well. Good day, and I am concluding the session now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.